I'm happy to welcome Benny to our set. Benny, would you feel free to tell us your story?
Sure. So this is actually the first time I've told my story. I've told people that I've had an abortion, mostly when I fundraise for the DC Abortion Fund. I've shared that experience, and my goal is always how much money I had to pay. But I've never really given this background and context to why I chose to have an abortion. One, because I've always felt like I don't need to. No one needs to, right? And a lot of the standards and requirements we hold for folks is you need to have a reason that you want to do this versus you just don't want a child, or it's not safe for you, or that's the end of it. That's your business. But with our political climate, with everything going on, I wanted to share my own context of it. I was 20. I was still in college. It was before my senior year. And at that point, I had been dating that partner for about 5 years. And he was very abusive. At that point, it had escalated to using weapons. So it was really, really scary. And then I found I was pregnant. And thankfully, he knew my decision. I told him, and he was okay with it. There was some catering I had to do on my end because I had no way to get to the provider. So I was 7 weeks, and I would be able to get a medical abortion. But the Planned Parenthood that was closest to me was not offering that. I was not able to offer that. So I had to go about 3 towns over, which is about over an hour drive. And because I obtained in New Jersey public transportation is not the same as other states. So I had to rely on him to drive me. And at that point, I was participating in certain things he did not allow me to. So I was basically living like this double life of having certain activities I did in college, like an improv theater group that addressed interpersonal violence, and that was really important to me. Because I would act out my reality, and it was my way to kind of process what I was doing and what I was in. And it was a way for me to feel like I was somehow fighting back. And I remember the day that I had to pick up the last set of medication, which I needed, like that was the set. I had signed up to perform, and I was running late. Like I had to make it to my house before he did, or he would wonder where I was. And I had my friend who also performed with me drive me, and she was driving super fast. She didn't even know, but I said, I need to make it. I need to make it to my house by this time. Then I got out of the car, and I tried to rush through the back door, and I was able to. But as he had beat me there and had been banging on the door, and he looked at me, and just the look he gave me was just another reassurance that I had made the right decision. Because what I do know is that if I had not obtained an abortion, I would be tied to this person for the rest of my life if I had been able to make it out alive at any rate. And that's something that I'm so privileged to tell right now, because all of these factors tie in together. As we're facing right now, if we look at policy, they all tie together. If we look at what programs are getting defunded, and if there's like programs that help folks who are experiencing abusive relationships or violent relationships and they're not having those funds, then that's one additional barrier. And all of these things tie together. The classism, the racism, all of that that's systematically built into our society. That's what limits folks from accessing healthcare. And I'm very lucky to have access to it. And I think, now is the time where we have to look at policymakers and really ask them, or request, actually, kind of demand from them, for them to take a look at what they're doing and how they're treating people. Because for me, I was lucky enough where I could pay for it. And he didn't use this against me, probably for his own reasons and benefits. I didn't have to get to the point where I had to reach out to a domestic violence agency or reach out to an abortion fund. And having worked at a domestic violence agency, that is the case for many, many people, where they're just linked forever to this person who has demeaned them and dehumanized them. And then we have policies that just further that dehumanization. And that's pretty much it for my story. And I'm just so privileged to be able to tell it to anyone who would listen. And hopefully, as they say, storytelling is an act of resistance, especially at this time.
Thank you so much, Benny, for your resilience and your resistance and for sharing your story with all of us.